you brought up the fact that, times are changing and we're able to, have open conversations about things we couldn't, even 10, 20 years ago. Like, for example, the idea of being non-binary. That's something that many of our ancestors were. They just weren't able to talk about it. They weren't able to be who they really, or gay, queer, lesbian, whatever designation that somebody calls themselves. In your work, what are you finding in your work when you're working with people with those specific details?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And a lot, when I'm doing a reading and I'm working with spirit, I get a lot of information. And some folks really want validation and they want to hear specifics and they want to know that they're okay. And they're very much in a grieving process. And then I get other folks who are coming who kind of already have gone through that and are ready to hear about what are they doing? What's going on? Like, how are they? Who were they? I didn't really know them very well. Could you tell me more about them? And a lot comes out around their own way of being in the world, their own sexuality, their own way that they identify, and they'll show me really interesting things. It's almost like when they show me themselves, I see a lot of shape-shifting is what I see. And a lot of moving from, it's like there's not really a gender, but it's like the genders keep changing. And then the colors keep changing. And then some, which is wild, and it's something that's been happening lately, is that there are spirits who also are showing me shape-shifting with animals and different beings that they're intertwined with in their energy field. So how this works, I don't know, but it's amazing to be able to feel, because there's something of their spirit that is very much tied, is what they've told me, to being expansive and not in this binary way that they were never able to feel or live out in their physical world. But then they go back to the other side, and I find that their soul is like, oh yeah, it's not even a thing. Like, this is just how the whole thing is here. Like, there's no label. It's just free and it's beautiful. And there's an expansiveness that is so inspiring when they make me feel how their soul is now and where they are. And I think that's really beautiful and also inspiring for being here in the physical, which can be very difficult and challenging when you are queer, Black, non-binary, indigenous, all of these things. It can be very difficult to be accepted and to not be judged here. I find that in my own self. I mean, just showing up as I am, looking as I am, I get a lot of different feelings towards that, right? And some might cover that up or be like, I'm going to hide some of those things because I'm scared. I don't know how to just fully be into that energy field. And spirit always tells me, like, bigger, like be yourself more, like, yes, like, because the time here, they say, is just so short. It is like a blip. And then we're on to the next. And I find that really actually exciting. And I find that an opportunity for all of us to be lifted by them in a way that we can fully embody our full selves and be fully here. And even if there's, hate and all this energy coming at us, or even from family that doesn't accept us. I work with a lot of folks who have this whole thing where they feel totally not accepted, and some of them even kicked out of their family home for being gay, for being queer, for being trans. And then what's amazing, and I just have to share this story, I had this grandmother from the lineage of this person who was trans, and they had no family that they could relate to at all here in the physical. They really had no family, and their family wanted nothing to do with them. And this grandmother came through, and they had known about this grandmother, but they didn't know too much about her. And she came through, and she first validated all these things that later ended up being true when they looked through them. And then this grandmother talked about this way that they had in their own spirit. They had been on the other side for so long that they had changed so much in their views and in their feelings towards what it was to be queer, to be gay, to be trans, all of these things. in a way that they became a new family member for them. And they were a well ancestor now. And they were able to stand beside them. And they talked about actually all these different signs that they had sent them, validating that. And the person just wept. They just wept. And they said, I knew that someone was around me. I just didn't know who it was. And they were so grateful to feel that connection of family, even from the other side. So it just gave me chills just thinking about the possibility of the healing and things not being stagnant of who we know ourselves or other people to be, especially with family, that things can happen that are beyond on the other side.
Yeah. That is such a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so let's just keep going down that path for our viewers who do find themselves, in their human suits at this time, living in one of these many different kinds of roles, and their family may have kicked them out or doesn't accept them, all the horrible things that can happen. How can they tap into supportive ancestors like the ones that you're describing?
Yeah, well, so what's really interesting is I work, because of who I am, I work with a lot of trans folks, queer folks, and non-binary folks all the time. And I do sessions that are called Channeling Your Guides readings. And in these readings, I basically open it up, and we open it up for all of their guides who are around them all the time to come through in very vivid detail and description, and then also validating their presence in their life in very specific ways. And what I find is that, wow, they just go straight to the heart all the time and reveal a lot of things of like the biggest wounds that we carry in our hearts and the things that we yearn for or long for to feel. And I find this very interesting because when I bring through these beings and they come through, they are very different, very different. They are nature beings. They are energy beings. I've had extraterrestrials come through yesterday, which was astounding. I was like so excited. I had to like hold the line of channeling because I was just about to fall out of my chair. And it's different for every being. And so in particular, I'm thinking of a reading that just happened. They gave support around how to build relationship and a secure attachment with the ocean for someone. And I thought, what is this? What is this? What? And the person just cried. And I said, does this make sense to you? And they said, yes, I am so called to the ocean. I feel like the ocean is my mother, the mother that I always wanted and never had that secure attachment with. And they gave support around being able to continually build this new relationship and not actually being able to build it with a physical mother in this realm because it wasn't safe to do so. And that they were on a different path of healing and that wasn't possible. But the healing was actually possible without them. And I found that amazing. I mean, so many times I feel like I've heard you have to do it with the person who hurt you. You have to go back to them and they have to get it and they have to fully. And I was just like, well, what if, they're not interested at all, or they're still harmful. And what Spirit has shown me was the more than human world and the natural world, we can actually build that healing bond with, just as if they were a figure in our lives. And I've seen people have that with tree spirits, with multidimensional beings who are around them, who are mothering, and again, with ancestors that they want to call in. And all they have to do is be able to bring in that energy a little bit closer. And I go through this in all of the things that I teach about how just to bring in spirit closer and quieting the mind to be able to feel, because we all feel things at different times. We just don't know it. And it's hard to pinpoint it. And it's hard to not question ourselves out of it. And I find that these beings of healing, and I almost call them like healing parents, healing family members, are always calling us. And I find this in every reading that the person is like, oh yeah, I felt the call a lot. Like I always feel called to like this tree or to go to this thing and keep going. And I said, yes, like it's this returning that builds this relationship and cultivate this healing on a level that is completely nonlinear. And it can't be in the mind. It is with the body and with the spirit. And in that, there can be great sustenance and healing, and we can feel like we are held and we are not alone. And that's what these beings feel in these sessions to these people. And they walk away feeling like, I have a family. I have people who love me. I'm going to be okay. It's just in a different form. That's all. Like, they're here. And they feel it so strongly. So I think that is really exciting, because I can say that I've for so long felt alone in who I am, or not been fully accepted, or not felt like it's okay to be me or safe. And when I feel all of my ancestors and the spirits right now around me, I feel so loved that anything outside of that is like a bonus and in the healing, you know?